morning, everyone. Yeah, good. My name's Greg Joyce. I'd like to share with you my testimony and hopefully finish it off with a lot of light. I was born in Auckland, New Zealand in the early 1960s into a family of 8. My family was a typical Kiwi family. They basically went to church on Sundays, suited up, suit and tie, and the Bible in the hand. It was a good church day. It was godly, and come Monday, it was Monday through to Saturday. It was all go. It was sinning, drinking, drugs, fighting. You name it, they did it. Being the youngest of 8, I had 2 older brothers that were young men before I was around. So I honestly don't know how I didn't follow them into a gang, because they were both in gang members. All my cousins were in gangs, and they still are now to this day. I do know, because my mother was, my goodness, in the days. Sorry. Usually I'm pretty good with the mic in front of me, in front of a lot of people, so forgive me. I know the Lord has. Thank you, God. All right. I've been practicing this for a while, so you can tell I've got it down to pretty much a pack. Yeah, that's it. So, getting back to my darker days. When I was a young boy, I was about 9 years old, and I had a not a bad voice when I was young. And my family had a band, the 4 of them, my 2 brothers, my mother and father. And I had the pleasure of going along and guest singing for them sometimes, which was really fun. But the bad part that we got to was, after everything was packed in the cars, including my sister 12 and myself, then the brawl started, because a lot of my cousins came to support our band, and it was pretty horrific for a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old to be sitting in the car watching this unfold in front of us, which became a night with the Travelling 4. That was the band's name, pretty much. They'd go to a gig, 30 of our cousins came. So it was good for the actual RSAs, that's what we call RSLs in New Zealand, and the pubs, because they were buying beer and spending money. But afterwards, that's when the devil was there. There was so much pain and sorrow. It was, as a young boy, it was really hard. I was looking at that thinking, is that what I'm supposed to be? A tough man that beats everyone up. And when I became a teenager, I saw my older brother. He was a good 15 years older than me, beating his wife, and I was only a young kid. And my father, which was sometimes on the same side, was trying to stop him, and he had 3 kids then. He was an animal, pretty much. I love him. I loved him as a brother, but he was a total animal, and he had devil in him. He was, I don't want to go in too far about it, because I've been to gang pads with my brothers when I was a bit older, and some of the stuff that happened there, you would not even want to read. It was just disgusting. And I'm glad that the Lord and my mother the Lord channeled his voice and his goodness through her to me, because I never drunk, I never have, I've never smoked, I've never taken drugs, and I don't know how, to be honest, but it's just the Lord helping me through. And then I became a man. Well, if you could call it a man. In my earlier 20s, I married my first wife, and we had 3 wonderful kids, 2 boys and a girl. And then I took over pretty much my brother's role in that marriage. I was physically and mentally controlling her 100%, to a point where we'd go out as a family in a car, which to me now is a pretty much a joke. I used to make her look at the car map, because I was that jealous and untrustworthy with her and myself that she wasn't allowed to look out when any men were jogging past, any man came, and etc. Which she sadly played a role with. And then God threw me a curveball, a real good curveball, and that was meeting one of my sister's good friends from her past. But she is one of the toughest women I've ever met. Because here was my chance to be a man, and I took it grabbed it with 2 arms, but I wasn't 100% sin-free. We battled for 3 years, pretty much, in our first relationship, and the Lord was strong in my wife now, mind and soul, which he had to be, because she was fighting the devil. I was pretty much part of Satan's role in my family's life. I'm not a small man, so she's a small lady. I pushed her around a couple of times in the earlier days, which I'm not really proud of now, but it's the truth. I did. I got arrested. New Zealand brought in a law that the neighbours could call the cops, which, thank the Lord. Went in over a weekend for 3 days, sat in prison and said, look mate, God, I've had enough. I don't know what to do. I was in and out, moving in and out of our relationship, being alone. It just wasn't me. So what I did was move my first marriage onto my second, my problems. Basically, I'll catch up a little bit quicker here. I was slowly finding God, pretty much. And it was hard, I'll be honest, it's hard, with all the world's evil thrown at you every day. But for the first time I was starting to, with our wonderful family, that was backing me 100%, our 2 boys and our daughter. We ended up moving to Australia in 2012, which changed my life dramatically, because I closed the door to the evilness in New Zealand, pretty much. But that door opened a little bit now and then, which was hard, but I slammed it shut. But over the last few years, family took a real big hits. Our son and daughter-in-law had to move to New South Wales because of the bug. And, part of our family was splitting up slowly. Our daughter had to move not long after that for her choice, which we backed her 100%. So it was Heidi and I in our big house solo. We've got an older son and his wife and our two wonderful granddaughters here, thank the Lord. But the house was pretty quiet. So I'll just go back a couple of years. When I basically knew that I needed God in my life was when I went to my father's deathbed. He had bowel cancer, and this strong man I've never seen cry, I've never seen him weak. He had God with him sometimes. Was scared of dying. And I thought, wow, I don't really want to be like that, because it's just part of your life. That's the circle back to God. You start with your parents with God, and you go around and come back to God. That's what I wanted, and that was the main point that pushed me towards the Lord. Now, pushing back into Melbourne, Heidi and I went church hopping, which was really good. We went to a few churches that were okay. Bit of a rock concert, but you know. And then the Lord pulled us to the church here, pulled us to Sunbury. And we knew when we walked in, this is it. We could feel it. It was homely, and we needed it. And we thank the Lord that we came here, because over the last 18 months, I've never read the Bible as much as in my 59 years to come on the 17th of this month. And it just picks me up. Heidi and I do it together at night, and we get picked up. And meeting all the fellowship and everyone here is just amazing. Pastor Eddie and his lovely wife Maria, what can I say? Just amazing. So, the main core of the story is, if there's anyone in this room that's got darkness and don't think God's going to forgive you, please reach out to God, because he forgives you for everything. He is there when you're in the darkness. Turn the light on, read the Bible, turn to God, because I know I have. And when I was rebaptized as an adult, I knew I was reborn and saved, because I want to see my wife Heidi and everyone again. Thanks for listening.